Welcome to the brief on another session of Block Chat. Now, we've been doing that for quite some time, and I believe some of you would have been following us. At the point of time, I always believe that whatever we're doing, we need to review the quality of what we're doing. How satisfied are we with it? And we decided to up our game. Yeah, we've done well. We've done well being consistent for all of this time. We've done well putting that effort. We've done well connecting with you at this time and explaining us, our project, tokenization in general, distributed ledger technology, block chat, blockchain, having amazing guests on board. All of this has been a lovely journey and we enjoyed every single part of it. Yet today we want to up our game. And how will we do it? Hopefully, you'll see it over the coming few block chats and you will be able to join us. Now, when we started block chat, we started wanting to inform you, to share with you what we're doing and to share with you knowledge and hopefully to learn from you. And to learn while trying to research so that we can share this knowledge with you. Today, we want to be the top quality, best available uh, videocast in the market for anything related to asset tokenization. And why do we want to do that? Because we really do believe that we're not about hype, we're about solid material and authentic quality technology and reach and impact to everyone's life. At the same time, we believe that tokenization will have a major, alongside other parts of the technology, a major impact on everyone's life, including ours, our children's, our parents, and hopefully all your children's and parents as well. Dennis, how are you?
Hey, Makram. Doing really well.
So here we
busy,
are.
busy weeks, busy weeks.
Yes, it is. It is. We are doing something now that we've been doing since some time, and here we are to up our game and hopefully do much more with it.
Yeah,
Um, by the way, I love the block chat that you've done with Daniel, and I believe that you should do more of those block chats where we all sit in the same room. So
definitely.
yeah,
That
so I
would
should
be
visit
good. Yeah.
Ljubljana probably once every 2 weeks. What do you think?
Um, or I visit Dubai. Why not? It's like both of us trying to get away from.
No, actually, you know what? Like, since I visited Ljubljana, I believe I enjoyed the city. I'm trying to convince my wife to go again to Ljubljana this year.
Yeah,
Um, and definitely, so 1 week you visit Dubai, the other I visit Ljubljana.
yeah, good
We're
idea.
doing so
I
much,
agree.
so much hard work at Blocksquare. So, so Dennis, I believe there's so much that happened. As you said, it's busy weeks. There's so much that we're doing, and there's so much that our team is doing. And we are getting new assets tokenized, which is cool. We just had an asset tokenized in Dubai. We have, I believe, two that are being worked on now in Australia. So, um, which is cool. And most important is that those assets are not within our closer circle, which is the community of Blocksquare who've been with us for some time. No, those are people who are from outside, listened about us, listened to us, heard about us, and wanted to engage. And when we discussed it with them, they liked what we're doing and wanted to be part of that cycle, that route. We also have much news that is happening. However, because we are rejuvenating our existence today and hopefully with more energy towards a better future, so we've done now 40-ish sessions and probably we'll have the coming energy will fuel coming 400 sessions hopefully and more, and again with value, because the minute that we see that block chat is not anymore providing value, we'll stop doing block chat, we'll do something else. So today we need to go back to the start and discuss why tokenize. So um, we need to look at the basics. Why even tokenize my property? What happened with staking? Yeah, people have staked around 6 months. Some people who have staked started getting the rewards because they started unstaking. What is BST and why would anyone want to hold it? So those people are getting BST today. Why do they want to hold BST and how long should they hold it for? Because we see people in our community holding BST and deciding to hold forever. And why is that? Is there benefit? Is there future benefit? What does it represent as a token? And then will I be able to liquidate a portion of my property via a token sale? And here we'll reach the Oceanpoint, the a new launch, and much more. So the team has been so busy. How about, Dennis, if we start with an update, because we have a meme contest, we have too much happening at the same time. So how about if we get an update on that from you, and
Sure.
then we head on with the rest.
Yeah, I think what was happening in the past few weeks, I think it's quite hectic in a way. So starting with the meme contest we had last week, we concluded last week, and Daniel was here throughout last week. We were working on Oceanpoint beyond version 03 as well. And so now we have a more clear roadmap for what we call version 04, 05, and 06. And we'll be updating those the information we list on our Discord, on Telegram, and the publications that we have in our website, etc. On the meme contest, we've announced the winners. I believe the rewards have now been all distributed. It took a bit longer on our end because they were some of the rewards were distributed in NBST, which is BST bridge to Near as a chain. So that's that part. And many know that who follow us know that we're now have a fixed date on launching version 03,
Can we
which
tell everyone um, who received the rewards for the meme contest? Please comment below, okay, to tell us that you've received it. Tell us if you're happy about it, and hopefully inspire others to join our community and be part of that energy as well. Yeah, and here I want to ask another question, because you mentioned the version 02, version 03, and it's very important to tell everyone version 02, version 03 for us is not just a technical launch of a new version where we fix some bugs. No, it's a totally different product sometimes, and Dennis will tell us more about this in a second.
yeah, when we're talking about this 0 point something versions, every time between one and the other, we're introducing new mechanics or new ways for our community to engage. Um, the idea is here that through these iterations, our community learns how Oceanpoint works, and they're able then to transfer those learnings as Oceanpoint grows into other avenues within the protocol. Like with version 03, we will start with something called liquidity mining, which rewards users providing liquidity on these DeFi protocols like Uniswap, and it rewards them on Oceanpoint with BST. Now, the same mechanics will be then used for other pools that don't involve necessarily BST, but they might involve, for instance, stablecoins in the future versions, right? When we introduce points, for instance, as a value wrapping coin for the tokenized properties within Oceanpoint. Now, if we go back to version 02, we introduced asset pools, which means an incentive mechanism for people who own real estate to tokenize it. And why we did that is because before real estate staking, it was really hard to present a low risk value proposition for a real estate owner or to a real estate owner to tokenize real estate. Anything was a big leap of faith for property owners. It was like, okay, why would I tokenize real estate? It's like, okay, we can do a token sale. All right, but if I want to tokenize my asset, I want to tokenize the whole thing or nothing. Okay, so what's your asset value? It's 1 million. Okay, so now we need to tokenize and find buyers for 1 million. But there's no real track record before that of those kind of transaction sizes. So it becomes kind of hard for a real estate owners to say, okay, let's do it, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty of, even in regulatory terms, etc. So what we did with real estate staking is created a DeFi incentive for people to just migrate some of the value they hold in the real world on chain. And that attracted what I think we're above 50 million worth of real estate with the recent deals that started coming in after the kind of December, January break of sorts. So I think now we have another 3 properties in the pipeline that should be delivered and tokenized in the following couple of days. And we also tokenize a property in the US, which I believe is already the owner already kind of engaged. And as you said, the great part is that now we're getting more and more people from outside of our circle, which is really really a positive sign. Yeah.
So let's go back to why tokenize real estate. So again, there is a possibility of somebody tokenizing real estate to engage in a public sale, while they have tokenized up to date without being bearing the cost of tokenization. We've bear the
Yeah.
cost of tokenization. They got benefits for staking. So let's stay with that. Let's
Mhm.
see who would tokenize today and why would they tokenize? And let's discuss what happened with people who have tokenized already, people
Yeah.
who have been tokenized staking for 6 months now, and what took place there, and what's the kind of rewards they got, because that's something that's very interesting also for them to know.
Yeah. So um, the reason, I mean, there's the now reason for tokenizing real estate, and then there's the what's going to be in the future. What kind of benefits will people have by tokenizing real estate? And if we start with the future, right? That's we're trying to get to the future as fast as possible, and the reasons that we're presenting today might not be relevant when we come to the future. Essentially, why people would tokenize real estate is just to have access to potential liquidity. I think that's the main reason is strategy. If you're invested in property, there might be times where you're fully invested, your capital is fully distributed into real estate, and there might be times in the market where you're considering, do I sell or do I hold the property in my portfolio? And I think, Makram, you're exactly know what I'm saying here,
I am
because
the
that's exactly you hold a lot of property in Dubai, and obviously you trade with it, but there's sometimes markets where you just don't want to let go. But at the same time, it would be great to have a liquidity option of sorts. And if you haven't, the basic part of having that option at hand in the future, it will be that your property is tokenized. If you haven't tokenized it, you won't be able to even consider any type of liquidity option there. The only thing you'll have at hand is either to increase your debt on the property through traditional financial institutions, or the second part is letting go of the property, basically selling it, which can be a
and
hard
by the
and
way,
many
probably
times
with
also
time.
emotional thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, with time, probably people will be able to use tokenization as a debt instrument in a way or another. If your token structure is created in a way, and the commercial engagement here is created in a way where there is a fixed return and you can call back 100% based on no one's agreement except yours, it's similar to a debt instrument where people use that similar to a fixed income asset. And that's how they buy the token and why they hold it. So this allows you sometimes to liquefy or get some liquidity out of the property without losing the property, specifically if you're in a market where property is non-replaceable. And there's too many property in the world where people do not want to sell. There's property that is really non-replaceable. And I was under that dilemma recently. I don't I say I don't fall in love with property, although I love all my property. But it's the idea is that you're buying it to sell it. It should never feel like a member of your family or your kid, because then you will not be able to sell it, and then you can't take. There's so much emotion engage involved in your sale. where you can't take a rational decision, which is against my business. This is my business at the end of the day. However, I was with a dilemma, living with a dilemma. I had a property which is amazing. It made so much sense at the point of time to sell it because the risk of holding it is way bigger than the opportunity of holding it beyond that point of time. Yet, price wise, I knew that that property is irreplaceable. It's one of three properties in the whole building, in the whole area, in the whole world. So there's three of this. Two are owned by two brothers, and I, by total coincidence, was able to buy the coincidence and determination was able to buy the third. The two brothers will never sell. They're well off. They love it. They use it, and they will never sell. And I held the third, and it was a dilemma. Shall I sell? Shall I not sell? It's irreplaceable. If there's a way to liquefy, get the liquidity out, and then because you know such a property will have bigger value in the future at all times, but you do not want to kill the opportunity value for your money. Yeah, my money should be on the move in a way or other. So it was a dilemma, and this is a solution somehow. If I can tokenize and liquefy part of it, that's a solution. So then, as people have tokenized, and thankfully we've been pretty successful. We thank everyone who supported because, by the way, there's people who joined us at the time we were tokenizing the first few properties who did not understand tokenization, who just wanted to support our mission. And I can recall, I'm sure we can recall several of them. And count two names from your side because I'll give two names from my side. I really want to thank Rashid. He's a very good friend of mine, and he didn't have a wallet even, and he wanted to support, and he supported with that. I wanted him to tokenize because I knew it is a good opportunity for him, and hopefully when his 6 months staking finishes, he will get like $10,000, which is similar to a gift. And that's $10,000 on today's value. So another one of my friends and partner, Fadl, called me a few days ago and said, I made $30,000 staking without any effort. I still am getting the returns on my business and everything like that is happening. I made 30. I said, you didn't make 30,000. You're calculating based on today's return. If you go into Uniswap and you buy some, the price will immediately deviate and will not be what the price is today because so you can't take an average of 100,000 tokens at that price. So you can consider that the price is 0.25 or zero point 0.3 today. Now, in a few years, hopefully, when somebody is listening to this block chat session, they will say, really, that was the price then? Hopefully, this is what would take place. And do you have anyone you want to really thank, Dennis, because they really believed in the mission at that time, although they didn't understand tokenization, maybe?
Yeah, I would, for the purpose of not really, saying who this, but they know. So
Okay, not to
they
give
know who
name.
they are. They know who they are, and um, I thank them for the discussions we had, because when you're trying to explain tokenization to somebody who's not even into crypto, right, at all, doesn't understand that part, and they're like, but how can you create value from zero, right? And the thing is, what we're doing is we're coining value. We're coining value that's then expressed in the value of BST. And by adding assets onto the infrastructure, that's adding value to the potential value to the whole system, right? And I know it's a perceived value in a way, um, but there's a lot of things that fluctuate, and they kind of follow perceived value of people, watching it and observing that. So I thank them for the conversations we had. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from you guys, and hopefully, this kind of conversations don't stop. The more we have conversations with real estate owners who are interested, open-minded, but at the same time not really understand how this thing technically works, and maybe they understand the economics. Usually that's easier. Um, the more successful we are, because that means that we're growing our community, and that means that real estate staking, in the form we have it on Oceanpoint right now, is provide or creating results. And these results,
And here,
as you
and
mentioned
here,
here, are concrete, right? Are concrete. I don't know exactly the numbers. I think it would be quite easy to calculate, since the staking pool is openly accessible. I'm sure somebody from the community watching this right now will go check how much BST was accumulated over the time, and on average, let's say how much each dollar value being staked earned to the person staking. If you go more in depth, in detail, how the smart contract works for staking, you obviously understand that somebody who started staking, 2 3 months ago, is obviously has accumulated a different amount than somebody who started staking, a month ago, when because the total value of assets stake differs. But to do like an estimation, I think that's pretty okay
that's
if you
easy.
just take
So
everything in one.
let's promise everyone also who've staked that we will record over the coming few days, and we will communicate to every single one of you a very fast tutorial, let's say a 3 to 5 minutes tutorial, showing you the process of unstaking for those who want to unstake, and extracting the rewards, so that you can do the process easily and without any difficulties. We will also show you how to check a time with gas fees reasonably priced. We run you through that process as we would do it, so that it's easy for you to do it. Okay. Um, so here, people have staked, they earn BST. Tell us again, Dennis, what is BST? Why would anyone want to earn BST? Why would anyone want to hold BST? And how long would they want to hold BST for?
Okay, so BST is Blocksquare's utility token. Um, a utility token is essentially a project-based token that earns value, or can potentially earn value, based on its utility. So how it can be utilized within a software system, that in this case on-chain software system, right? Um, so BST as such, you can think of it as something that can potentially um, capture value based on system utilization. So how much, the more users there are, the more properties they're tokenized, the more likely it is for these assets to have a direct impact on BST. And how we're achieving this is by adding utility on different levels. If we zoom out, Blocksquare works in two ways: as a DAO, as a decentralized organization, as well as a startup company. Now, as such, it has certain values, certain products and services that it offers. On one side, we have partnerships with companies who want to launch their own marketplace, who want to run those marketplaces so they can easily tokenize and bring real estate assets on chain. Why? Because in that way, it's much easier to get co-investors kind of into a specific asset. And on the other side, they connect it, they invite investors, people, organizations who want to invest in the assets that they source to their marketplace. And these services and products, they are under a software license. A software license is something that another organization pays to be able to utilize a piece of software. If you want to utilize Microsoft, Word and then Excel, etc., you have a Microsoft Office license that you pay on a yearly basis, kind of like a subscription type of thing. Now, here in this case, we have that kind of license also priced. And you can go to our docs at Blocksquare. You can navigate there from our website, and you can see there on the pricing how we price that type of license for each marketplace operator. Now, how this impacts BST is potentially in two ways. So it generates revenues for Blocksquare as a company, and Blocksquare as a company can thrive then and bring value to BST through new products, etc. Or it can also be used by our partners by simply buying BST, holding it, and staking it, and turning an expense, a license expense, so a cost for the company, turning it into an asset. And this way, we offer discount levels, even to up to 100% for a marketplace operator who holds exactly 100,000 as BST, which is a staked BST. Right now, I think the conversion rate should be something about 300K BST that need to be held. Now, why is this important? Is because it creates these pockets of co-invested marketplace operators, co-invested in the technology that the DAO provides, and on the other side, it decreases their operational costs, and it creates long-term holders of the token. This is important because BST is a limited supply token. It has 100 million tokens, not more. Not a token more can ever be minted. And right now, there's only 17 million in circulation, I believe. Out of that 17 million, I think about something above 10 million is actually staked in the governance pool, which kind of shows that there's big support by the community in what we're doing. Now, on the other side, if we go to Oceanpoint, is a DeFi protocol that might, at first glance, look as a fund, but it's not, because it's decentralized and the value transmission is done in a different way. Oceanpoint is a DeFi protocol that can hold different amounts of each tokenized asset on Blocksquare's tokenization system. And each part can generate revenues. And if you look at Oceanpoint in the future as holding hundreds of millions of worth of tokenized real estate, that's going to generate about on average between 5 to 6, let's say, percent APY, and that's going to be coming into Oceanpoint in the form of a stablecoin, and that stablecoin executes buybacks on BST, and then that BST is used to reward liquidity providers on Oceanpoint. So it becomes like a different mechanism of rewarding people that want to be engaged in real estate, but instead of engaging in real estate by buying it, they engage in real estate as a business by providing liquidity for it. Yeah, so this is kind of, I think, two sides of the same coin here.
Today, people have staked. They've staked for 6 months, and a few days for some people. If they want to unstake, they can take those rewards. What and how can they use those rewards? Will they go into a vesting contract? What's the period? How will that be released? What is a vesting contract? And can they stake it? Because maybe they want to stake it in the governance pool.
Yes. So what happens with the rewards is these rewards you have earned through the process of staking it for at least 6 months. When you desire to, you can continue staking your tokenized real estate. That's one option. Or you can say, okay, now I will unstake it. I would withdraw my asset tokens back to my wallet to receive BST. That BST, we've added a community protection, a vesting process. So that BST will be released to you in increments over a period of 24 months. So let's say that you've earned 10,000 BST, or let's simplify 24,000 BST, you will be receiving 1,000 BST per month, basically. And all you need to do is come back to app.oceanpoint.fi and basically click on withdrawal every time you want. Don't worry, you don't need to do it on a monthly basis. You can do it whenever. It just automatically kind of increases your allowance to withdraw. So this is in a way to protect the other part of the community who doesn't maybe own real estate and hasn't staked real estate. But then when you receive that
so that
BST,
no one so
yeah,
that no one dumps the so what we don't want here, what we want to avoid, guys, is someone gets 100,000 bst, 200,000 bst, dumps it on the market on one day and moves on. Now for him it's reward that he got just for staking his property, while that's great. It's, the reward is right. It would have been counter-effective for us and our community. So rather than them supporting the ecosystem generally, it will be undermining the ecosystem and the value in it. Sorry, I just needed to point that out because
yeah,
people ask why vesting.
yes. Vesting is for that protective measure. That's why it's in place. And what we want to achieve is we want to achieve real estate owners using BST further on, either in the governance pool to earn more BST, or adding liquidity as well. We want to engage these property owners who decide to not stake to perhaps do a token sale on the marketplace. Obviously, we cannot offer that to all property owners, but we can offer it to some based on eligibility criteria. So we did due diligence through the asset onboarding process before tokenizing each asset, but then we now will have an additional due diligence process for anybody who wants to offer BSPT tokens, so the tokens of their asset, to our community members. And why is this important? Because these community members with version 04 will be able to also engage in the asset pool staking. There's going to be a new asset pool deployed for non-owners, let's call it. And there will be not a 6-month period, but it will be a much shorter period through which the user needs to stake. And what will happen is, by choosing that pool or that mechanism, they will be driving revenues towards the DAO, towards the governance board that will be able to make decisions based on governance poll results. Those polls will be done through Snapshot initially, and in time we will move on to full on-chain governance. This means that anybody will be able to buy a real estate token that is directly connected, legally bindingly connected with the underlying real estate asset. They will have the choice of just holding that token, earning revenues in DAI or USDC, or taking some of those tokens for staking, some or all for staking on Oceanpoint, and switching from earning DAI or earning BST instead. And then in that way, providing working capital to the DAO. So that's kind of
And
yeah.
and it's quite fair. And for people who have staked, they got BST. If they go to the governance pool and they stake this BST, they will be in a way or other having a voice in the whole ecosystem. So you've supported the growth. You were one of the first 50 million in tokenized assets, and probably beyond. But you've supported this, so you will have a call forever as long as you hold this BST. You stake it in the governance pool. Now, the question is, when can they stake it in the governance pool? And this is question number one. Question number two is, um, how do you see people, or when do you see people starting to engage with a public sale for their assets? Do you see that hopefully within the coming few months we will have parties who come in and say, I want to publicly sell some tokens of my asset?
Um, I think in terms of doing, let's start with the last part with public sales, right? Public or private placement sales, however you call it, right? It's not like we're gonna do much marketing honestly outside, except if the asset owner comes to us and says, "Hey, you know, uh, I would like to raise a certain amount of capital through that process," but initially, for instance, most property owners will just be able to place tokens for sale on the marketplace. People will be able to buy on the secondary market. There's going to maybe be, some tokens available and for a certain price, and they just can go there and buy with the DAI they have. A property token. So it's going to be more of a secondary market type of offering. Why? Because these properties, the beauty of those properties we attracted is they're already financed. They don't require capital to be financed, acquired. They don't require that kind of approach. They're already great properties that owners, are happy to hold. But this liquidity option that we were mentioning at the beginning is quite tempting, right? So you want to start testing that liquidity option. What's there? Is that really something that's available or not? And probably at the beginning it's going to be just like really small. But on the other hand, Web3 doesn't have any exposure to real estate assets, or very, very limited. And if this engine, let's say, starts producing results, people attracting people, instead of going and buying NFTs, they go and buy basically real estate, which is in itself an NFT, but it's much, 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 much better. It's the ultimate NFT, each property. It doesn't have a monkey face, but it does do revenues. So that's my view, right? And these are huge assets, so we need to kind of allow fractional access through tokenization. It's the only way possible for Web3 to go forward with. That's on the token sales. Now, what kind of assets, which owners will be open to do that? It depends a bit on jurisdiction. It depends a bit on how the property is positioned, etc. But I'm fairly certain that we'll be able to find ways of getting real estate assets there to be accessible to anybody in Web3 who wants to engage in the purchase of it.
The right property and the right real estate assets, because that's very important also. It's not
Exactly.
any real estate assets, it's not any property. Um, it's the right property.
Exactly. Then the first part was on. Can you do you?
Yes,
I
sure.
can you help me out?
So will I be able to liquidate through a token sale? You
Yeah.
mentioned yes, and we were asking before that. So if I have unstaked today, I've taken the BST. Am I able to put it in the governance pool,
Yeah.
stake it in the governance pool, and how am I able to create an impact there? Would I have a voice, and how?
Yeah. So yes, you can if you're a property owner who staked with us, and you earn some BST, and now you say, hey, I want to take that BST and I want to put that BST in the governance pool because I want to have a voice in the DAO. I think this is a compelling thing. Right now, we haven't had any requirement to do any governance pools so far. But that is about to change right after version 03 comes in. That's kind of, we had this pre-agreement, let's say, up to a certain point, and then from that point on, we need to get more DAO-like and less like a startup in a way where there's a couple of people making decisions on everything. And before that, we've created this governance board. The governance board is composed out of 2 members from the team, the core team, 2 members from our advisory board, or and 2 members from our community. And what we'll be doing is we'll be adding more and more people from the community based on how much BST they hold, based on how much they are engaged, their understanding of how everything works, etc. So, and this governance board will be basically the decision-making body on protocol-wide decisions, which will impact what is happening with BST in terms of value, in terms of utility, etc. So right now, what will happen for people who do stake in the governance pool, they will...
Who unstake? Let's start with people who've unstaked and wanna do
Yeah,
something with their tokens now because they
exactly.
don't want to sell those tokens.
Okay, so what they can do is they can simply stake in the governance pool, which means you deposit a certain amount of BST and you receive a counter token back based on your position, which is called SBST. If you remember, SBST is tied to the software licenses as well. So anybody who wants to kind of decrease the cost of running on our software needs to hold SBST. So that's on one side. It's kind of partially holding a license of a future marketplace. You can think of it this way. But what
Yes.
it gives you a voting right on. So it has multiple functionalities. And when the governance board wants to do a poll, consider a poll like a referendum in a way, right? There's a decision by the government, but they outsource it to the population. So here it's kind of similar. Like, okay, this governance board needs to make a decision, but wants to verify it with the community. And then the community can vote yes or no. And there's a simple app where you can do that, and where it's called Snapshot. It's quite widely used in Web3 and DeFi projects, and it's cheap. Why? Because the vote is not on-chain, but is off-chain. And this is enough for saying, let's say that we want to introduce a new liquidity pool, and we want to evaluate which liquidity pool that should be. Should it be USDC or should it be DAI, for instance? And we make that kind of poll, and we see SBST holders engaging in it and providing their input. And based on that decision, a quorum is achieved, and then it's executed by the team. So this is the process that is not fully on-chain. When in the future we move to a full on-chain process, you will have a direct impact with your SBSTs to, I don't know, change the fee structure in Oceanpoint, to change the composition of the underlying tokenized real estate assets portfolio, to change future new features for the product, etc. So there's a lot of things that will be done then in the future with SBST. And it's going to be harder and harder to acquire, even though the supply of BST is kind of increasing, but there's this process is how you can
The
acquire
ratio will
it.
change. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can imagine it as, if somebody looked before into Bitcoin, for instance, it started with zero supply, and the only way to get some of that supply was to mine, basically, to validate blocks. And it was easy to validate those blocks at the beginning, while today it's very hard. You actually need to invest, tens of millions to be able to be part of that game. And the supply is also capped with Bitcoin, just like with BST. With Bitcoin, it's 21 million. Here, it's 100 million tokens. But the procurement of BST, it's done in a different way. It's minted and not mined as with computer processing power. Here, instead, it is by providing value to the DAO, and the DAO governance decides what drives value and what doesn't, and what should be rewarded more and what less in the end.
Perfect. So for everyone who have staked, earned BST, you will have a voice if you stake that BST in the governance pool forever. So probably this is the next thing you need to do. Stake your BST, get SBST, be part of that, and hopefully your purpose behind being part of tokenization in the first place was for a greater good. You wanted either to run a marketplace, and if you hold 100,000 SBST, voila, you have the technology for free. You don't need to go through all the process of developing that. You have it, and uh, this is important, guys, because yes, it's a DAO, and yes, there's value to be shared with everyone, and every member of the community has an impact and will have an impact and will be impacted by the success of Blocksquare and its token. Dennis, do you have anything else you would like to tell everyone listening today?
Uh, I'm I don't know. I'm really excited about version 03. I know it's not it's a tough market right now. I hope we get as many engaged, even with a really tiny bit of liquidity, just to have that diversity in of stakers there. Um, what we'll be doing in the coming weekend, or from tomorrow, probably maybe later today, um, we will engage a selected group of people who already started providing liquidity, to test on mainnet, to test the version 03. There's a chat group. Well, there's a channel on Discord that these liquidity providers are already joined, and the information will be shared there. The purpose of this is because our tech team, and the, the thought was, wouldn't it be great if we could gather feedback on our live version before we go live? And who better to be that kind of initial testers than the people who from our community who are already engaged. So we hope that this kind of process will become more and more common for new releases with Oceanpoint. And I think here, there's kind of inviting more community members into active development of the DAO's products.
I believe that people who would be engaged will enjoy the process. We will definitely learn much from the process and will be able to hear your questions, hear you, and answer you. Thank you for everyone who's sending us questions on LinkedIn, everyone who's we see a rise in engagement even on YouTube, which is cool. Yeah, so we started distributing this through Restream, Block Chat to several channels, and we at that time were advised against that because we were told that you're distributing your viewership, thus no one platform will see that you have real big numbers of viewership, obviously, because you know that we aren't watched by millions yet. Yeah, so so you have already thin viewership and you'll be distributing it. However, it's growing and we're pretty happy about its growth. Thank you so much, Dennis, for the session today. Thank you for everyone who've joined us. We promise you with something. We'll be involving more faces and much more knowledge also from individual around, from legislators, from everyone around. And we want to start structuring block chats that is categorically important information for anyone seeking information about technology. And so we will have approximately a session a month, which is informative, and rather than just updating you about what we're doing, which is exciting, I'm sure, for you, and what the market is doing, we'll be introducing a portion of what the industry is doing as a whole. At the same time, some additional knowledge introduced, and that's something that we will do more of going forward. Thank you so much for joining us. Another block chat with Denis Petrovcic and Makram Hani.